What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several loot spots that should help you win in Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 4. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what your favorite place to land is this season, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolvedJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So there are a few things that I want to say before we get into the loot spots themselves that relate to this season. The first is going to be loot hacks. In the menu, you can spend your sprite dust on loot hacks, and this adds extra items to your loot pool, and you have a chance to get them from chests. But they don't take the place of anything else. So these loot hacks just basically add loot when you do get them to spawn. You still get what would have been in the chest regularly, and then the loot hack on top of that. And some of these locations not having as much loot makes these loot hacks, I feel like, even more valuable, because if you are able to get any, that's just added loot for you, and that helps supplement, like, you know, these POIs not having as much loot. Also, when it comes to loot hacks, you can unlock several of these items. They don't actually take the place of each other spawning. It's not like if you only have the Oni shotgun and none of the others spot, you're going to be getting the Oni shotgun more frequently. They don't like compete against each other that way, and actually having more of these hacks purchased increases your chance of getting a loot hack to spawn on its own. So they're not competing against each other in a way that some people might think. Also, vending machines are going to be pretty helpful this season. This has been the case for all of Chapter 7 because you can buy weapons and heals here. But one change this season that really helps is that you can buy overdrive grenades from them. And that helps these places a lot because, again, with POIs that don't have as much loot, the chance of you getting mobility is a bit of a struggle sometimes. So having the ability to buy overdrives, I think, really helps with spots like this. And then finally, gold fishing spots are back, and some of these places have fishing spots. And again, if your place doesn't have as much loot, you're probably not going to come away with as high of rarity. So getting one gold fishing spot can really help you out. The first locations we're going to talk about are going to be the Pac-Man islands, because each of them are pretty good. So Pac-Man is on the north side of the map. There's a red ghost on the bottom left, and then there's a pink ghost on the bottom right. And each of these islands has a guaranteed slurp truck and a guaranteed rare chest. But I think the best one is going to be Pac-Man himself, which is on the north side of the map. The Pac-Man has 2 rare chests and 7 potential regular chests, as well as 3 fishing spots to the east. And then there's more buildings that you can loot over on that east side. If you do need to loot more, there's like a little loot path you can kind of run through if you follow the trail of buildings. So I think this spot, you know, one of the nice things about it is that it can be looted incredibly quickly, and you can take that loot and then maybe go third-party Battlewood if you want, or loot kind of the surrounding, you know, buildings like I talked about. Being able to get 2 rare chests off the rip is really nice. Being able to get that slurp truck is really nice. And then the 3 fishing spots means that I feel like you have a somewhat decent chance of one of them being gold, which will then give you, you know, really solid loot. So I think this is just a quick kind of like grab and go spot. The small temple outside Stone Sanctum, I would rather land at than Stone Sanctum, because this one also has a hidden vault, which is super easy to open. So this POI has 12 regular chests, but there is that extra vault that you can open. You got to look for the blue light that will be wandering around the POI, and then once you get to it, a little pot will spawn, and then you break that pot, and it will give you the key to open the vault that's at the main building there. And then the vault at the bottom basically has 2 rare chests and 3 regular chests guaranteed, but they're in these cases that you need to break, and so you'll be able to quickly and easily get all of that loot. When I was landing here, I would grab a gun or 2 and then maybe look and see if there was anybody in the area. I wasn't getting contested here, and then I would just go for the vault, and then after looting the vault, I would just leave. After you're done here, you could go third-party Stone Sanctum, or just, you know, like rotate more towards the middle of the map and look for people that way. But this is another POI that you're going to be able to loot really quickly and then go elsewhere to get more loot. And that's pretty much always the case with a lot of these kind of like small or unknown, unnamed POIs, is that it's rarely going to be enough loot for you just to loot and then play the game out from there. But it's giving you a quicker start to the game and an easier start to the game in a lot of cases, that you can then transfer into kind of third-partying a neighboring POI, cleaning that up, and then getting a lot more loot for yourself. Another place that will allow you to do that is going to be this building that has a pool that's in between Sunken Shores and the Pink Ghost. Here there are 8 potential chest spawns, and this is a relatively small area, so it can be looted really quick. There's vending machines, and then there's also 4 fishing spots, so you should hopefully get at least 1 gold one here. Obviously, you know, Fortnite matches there's, you know, an extreme amount of variance. You might get all gold or no gold, but I feel like more often than not, there's going to be at least one gold fishing spot here, which will get you some high rarity loot to start your game, which is definitely going to be nice. And then you should be able to loot it quick because it is pretty small, and then go, you know, third party an area or just look for more players to eliminate. And so this spot I think has been underrated for pretty much all of Chapter 7. There's these docks near Heatwave Harbor, kind of in the desert. Here there's 12 potential chest spawns. Unfortunately, there's only 2 fishing spots, so, you know, you could get a gold one, but I feel like you're less likely here with only 2. And then once you've looted this, you can go to the nearby island, which has even more loot, and make your way to the bridge to start the duck race at Heatwave Harbor, because this will give you plenty of loot and gold once it finishes, and you can then use that gold to buy mobility and buy heals, and probably clean up any players that are at Heatwave Harbor. This area I feel like is a lot less contested than it was last season because there is no mythic pump this season. Last season you could get the mythic striker pump from doing the duck race, and since that's no longer a thing, I feel like less people are going here and less people are going for this POI, so it's a bit easier for you to kind of run this loot path and clean all that up and get all that loot for yourself. And then after doing the duck race and potentially fighting the players that are at Heatwave Harbor, you definitely should have a good amount of loot to the point where you should be able to play the game out for there and not really be desperate for anything, especially because you get a lot of gold from that race, which you can then translate into buying some mobility for yourself. The final place is going to be this island outside Wonky Land. It has 16 potential chest spawns, and then there are also more chest spawns along the coast. And then there's 2 fishing spots, which really isn't that great, as I said before with the previous spot, but maybe you get a gold one and that really helps. And then once you've looted this place, this island, you could then rotate towards Wonky Land. And a lot of times, if you're quick about looting the island, you can often catch people here doing the shooting game, because Wonky Land is kind of an interesting POI, where it's a POI where a lot of people fight. And then once that fighting is concluded, oftentimes a player will go for the shooting game and then try to do that. Sometimes people do the shooting game while there's still enemies nearby, but it's kind of risky to do that. So a lot of people clear the POI and then do the shooting game. And that's really nice for you coming to third party, because if there is anybody left in this area and the shooting game hasn't been completely done, which it shouldn't be if you looted quickly, they're probably going to be at that shooting game. So you'll have a decent idea of where you should be looking for enemies as you come into the POI. So you're getting here kind of late, but since the shooting game nature is that people do it and then like people wait to do it, you should have the enemy there. If there is any enemies there, you know, you can eliminate them and then do the shooting game for yourself. When you do this shooting game, you only need to do one target. You only need to hit one target, sorry. And then if you've hit at least one target once the timer hits 0, the cannon will reward you with a bunch of loot and gold, which again, you can then buy whatever you need from the vending machines if you get enough gold. With the spawn rate of high rarity weapons this season, I feel like I'm always pretty much just using my gold on heals and mobility. And the Oni is my preferred shotgun this season, which I'm typically getting from loot hacks anyway, so I don't really need to buy a high rarity shotgun. But that dock outside Wonky Land I think is actually a really good landing spot. And then the fact that you can then transfer it into easily cleaning up Wonky Land just results in you getting a lot of loot. And I'd rather land there than Wonky Land itself. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.